Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to season 21 of the V8 Vets, brought to you by RaceKraft Simulation. I'm John Van Ree. I am in here. I'm the one with the mad head being shown. In the room with me at the moment is our split 4 race control, Chris Blanchard. How are you, Chris?
I'm good, mate. Happy to be here this afternoon.
Yeah, very good to have you here too, mate. Plenty of people already out in the chat. 34 people already, 6 likes. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're new to the league. We don't allow people to chat in split 4 unless you have subscribed. So if you want to jump in, have a chat, and definitely feel free. Good to see plenty of familiar names out there, including Mr. Baldock, Jeff Eddy, all the way from the States for an early start. Joseph Granshaw, plenty of my split 3 mates, including safety car driver, a legend extraordinaire, driver of the day for the Chubby Buns Award, Jason Chin, and a few of the other guys there. Big season coming up. Of course, we have gone to 4 splits. Looking forward to that. Big splits reveal coming up on Thursday night with Hamish and Andrew Johnston running the show over there. So they're going to do a bit of a reveal of the splits. We're not going to announce them until that broadcast comes out. Just create a bit of atmosphere and a bit of excitement on Thursday night for everybody to see how these splits play out. I think there'll be some big winners and some big losers in these splits. But I think looking at them, everyone always asks the question, will it be split 2.5 or split 1.5? And all I'm going to say is it is just both. I think the competitiveness in all 4 splits will be quite scary for a lot of drivers. Everyone will be happy to know we've capped it out at 45, so it's not the 50 that we've had in the past with 179 drivers on the books for this season at the moment, which is pretty exciting. We've got race control teams organised. Greg Favell and Anthony Visma moving up into split 1. We have, of course, Joe Marnie taking over split 2 with Tim Lawson. And then we move down the list into Bruce McLeod with Ty Delaney. And then we are going to have Hugh Blanchy with, I can't remember his first name, Phil Neville, I think it is. So we've got people lined up around the edges. We're running 2 DSOs this year to give a bit more input. We'd like to welcome on board Jake Burton. So most people will know Jake from TTR in the Pro Series. Great to have Jake on board. Had plenty of conversations about rules and everything else with Jake in the past over there. He's a very knowledgeable racer, been on the sim for a long time, and will provide some interesting input in the race control department. Speaking of race control, they've got their big night tomorrow night. They're getting some coaching as well, which is being done by Pete Baxter. So looking forward to seeing the guys learn a bit more about what they can do with their iRace control software and various things, and running through some definitions. What's this loving the eye contact? Yeah, shut up, Baldock. And then, of course, Thursday night we have the splits. Friday night we start practice. And then next Thursday night we start race 1. Looking forward to it at VIR, the pink round. Looking for everyone to get in behind and support what we're doing there. It's just a little bit of a fundraiser for the McGrath Foundation. See what we can do, and looking forward to that. Team Brad Jones's basement. Yes, Matty McMillan. I'm in the basement of split 4. Congratulations, you've worked it out. Anyway, let's get into these rules. I'm sure everyone's interested to know the changes, and I think there is still a few new faces in the list there as well. So I'll try and summarise through this quite quickly as we work our way through. Lovely scrolling. We're up to version 1.1. Of course, we did the usual dump of a draft version out before the start of the season. Greg Favell takes over the role as chief race steward from Dave Coleman, who did such an awesome job last year. And then we get into the index, and then we move into admin. Nothing's really changed in there. It's basically league manager's responsibility. So basically, as a member of the league, you've pertaining that you've read the rules and you understand that these rules apply to all participants. unless authorised by the rules. No interpretation, modification, or change can be made. All competitors expect to conduct themselves in a manner that reflects positively on the league managers, sponsors, attendees, and other participants. So we need to be conscious of that one. And as we head down the page, nothing's really changed in this one. Bullying and or abuse towards other drivers, race control, or league management in any forum or private message will not be tolerated. They were ones that we brought in a season ago, and I think they all hold the league in good stead. Of course, the league managers reserves the rights not to accept an entry and also reserves the rights to expel drivers from the league. Haven't had to do it too often, so hopefully you don't have to do it this season. The provision of the rules take effect from the start of the season, which is now, which we're running through variations of the rules. We reserve the right to do as many amendments as possible as required, and they will be publicised. They will be publicised, of course, in Discord under the season 21 rules. If you haven't got into that season 21 area, you need to get in there, have a quick look now. Definitions are exactly the same as last year, except for one change when we get a bit further down, which this will come into effect when we start talking about safety cars. We are introducing the Motorsport Australia Safety Car 1 line and Safety Car 2 line. So the Safety Car 1 line is a line that's across the track prior or at the beginning of pit lane entry road. And the Safety Car 2 line is the safety car line across the track after the pit exit road. So usually defined as a line that will be going across the track at the point where pit entry is. And then the other line, of course, is where the blue cones are. So if you're being asked to hold because the pit lane is blocked, you need to stop at the green cones, not the blue cones. So everyone needs to be conscious of that in that aspect. And it will also have some effect, which we'll talk about when we get to safety cars. So for those that have been following along, stop yelling. For those that have been following along, particularly with the Pro Series, particularly with Interlagos, this was the major change that came out of that event. And the safety car rules that have happened there have been passed on into our series to try and prevent it from not happening again with us as well. So the old Swiss cheese model, we're trying to close our holes up. Interpretation, so reference to the rules will include any amendments or variations to them. The singular includes the plural or vice versa. Words imported, a gender, include any gender, which I don't think I've done any genders in there. And stop reading that. Only genuine questions in there, Baldock. I don't have a fans only page. Headings are for the convenience only for the affected interpretations. Acquaintance for the rules. This one is very important. There is an expectation for everybody to understand the rules that applies to them. There's nothing more frustrating as when you get to race control after the race to discuss the regs or discuss an incident you're involved in and you've got no idea exactly what the rules are. I've seen it happen numerous occasions and yeah, you really need to have a bit of an understanding. That's why I'm glad we've got so many people in here now listening to this and reading what we're going through here. So yeah, it is your best interest to make sure you understand the regs in their entirety. Ignorance of the rules will provide no excuse for the observance of the rules. If a driver is found not to comply with the rules, there shall be no defence to claim that no advantage was obtained. Series entry, of course, everyone, I think there is only 2 or 3 guys who still have to sort out some payment. And once we get those payments sorted out, they'll be in. But once you've accepted payment, once the fees have been paid, your league's been accepted for entry. Just reading what happens if you're in split 4 but identify as a split 2 driver. Don't you worry, Jason, you won't be in split 4. You don't identify as a split 4 driver either. So you're split neutral at the moment. minimum driver requirements. I shouldn't laughing at my own jokes. It's wrong. You need to hold an active subscription to iRacing. Be over 40. We did actually have some guys try to enter this season that were in their 20s. So we do check people's ages when they do apply, and pay the fee, which everyone's done, and need to be a member of the V8 Veterans League Discord. So I do have one person, a Darren Renouf. If anyone knows Darren Renouf, we need to get him into Discord. He hasn't responded to an email I've sent either, so I don't know whether he'll be showing up in round one. Trusted spotters, you're allowed to have a spotter in race. If you want a spotter, they need to come in via Trusted Spotter. That is the easiest way of doing it. It's basically an iRacing setup. So if you Google that with iRacing, you will go and get that sorted. They're an extension of the driver because they're spotting for the driver. But we have made some amendments to what they can do. But as an extension of the driver, of course, they can change fuels and all those sorts of things, tyres and all the rest of it. Supplementary regulations, we did use those for the first time in season 20. Something I don't want to make a regular occurrence, but we do have some variations that do occur from time to time, and we try and get them out by 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Wednesday prior. So make sure you do get in and read in the season 21 section of Discord, where we do have a Sup Regs channel. As I said, 90% of the chances there won't be one, but there is one that will be there. Moving on to series identification. RaceKraft are still sponsoring us this season, RaceKraft Simulations. So the series will be known as the RaceKraft V8 Veterans League, or RaceKraft V8 Vets, or V8 Veterans. So yeah, if you are putting any posts out or doing any communication, make sure you're promoting RaceKraft in there as well. John's been a great sponsor for us over the last couple of seasons, and we're definitely hoping that'll continue and working very hard with that. And everyone in the league doing their bit by using the name RaceKraft when they promote the league would be great to help us promote RaceKraft and also keep our relationship going. Also, each participant team recognises that the sponsors of the league, drivers and other participants, teams, rounds, as well as other sponsors supporting in any other way the league are essential for the ongoing success of the league. So you need to be a bit responsible and make sure that you're not unfairly being prejudiced or unreasonably criticising or malice towards our sponsors. We've got some great sponsors on board, of course. LCG Images have come on board as a sponsor this season. Reg has been doing a fair bit in the background, so we're actually giving him a bit of credit and a bit of notice. Sudspeeds are back with us. Parramatta Isuzu Utes via the West End Motor Group are still with us. Player One are still with us. Logitech are still with us. And, of course, Nova Sim Sports are with us still as well. And Chubby Buns as well. So we've definitely still got a very good sponsorship base, and some smaller ones, of course, in the likes of Timmy Nichols, who supports our photo of the day or photo of the week, which gets awarded out each week when people post photos in the picture channel. Live streams, of course, we don't have too many issues people doing that. I'll keep rolling through the schedule. Now, there's been a hiccup. Bruce McLeod will probably spell it out a bit better, but the VIR is our first round, Road Atlanta, then Oshleben. Oshleben would be, or Oshleben is where the official calendar will have Bathurst, because it's the, what do you call it? The Bathurst 1000. The official Bathurst 1000 is run during that week. We are running we're going to stick with Oshleben in that space because we are running Bathurst as our enduro as the final round. And I'd like to keep that in place.
Just lost your sound there, John. Yeah, John, no sound.
And is it back?
Yep, it's back.
It's
yeah.
back. Okay. Yeah. That's my headset decided to turn itself off because no one said anything in the background. You might have to cough once in a while, Chris. Okay, going back to what I was saying, round 3 is where the official Bathurst is. The calendar changed. We're keeping Bathurst. Be thankful that we don't have Nordschleife in there because somebody was batting very hard in the management team to get Nordschleife onto this calendar. Don't be surprised if you see it next season. I can only keep him in his box for so long. But yeah, it is coming. But that calendar looks really good. I'm happy with it. I think it's one of the great looking calendars we've had in a long time. VIR, great circuit. 250 Ks there is going to be hard work. Road Atlanta, we've done it the last few seasons, but 200 Ks there, 50 laps. That'll create some good racing. Oshers, yeah, I love that track.
You've got some memories.
Yeah, I've got some results there. I do have a victory there. Don't worry, I'll send the highlight reel to you, Mr. Bulldog. Long Beach, we're back on a road circuit or track city circuit. Looking forward to that. 150 Ks there. That is going to be an absolute sprint. And then we move on to Road America again. Then we go back to Mugello. We haven't been there in 2 rounds. It'll be the second time we show up there. Aragon, first time for vets. And then we've got Montague East at night for 150K race. Then we go back to Algarve, running the moto layout for 200 Ks, and then Bathurst for the one and only enduro that we have for the season, and 300 Ks at Bathurst, non-drop round. It will definitely be a championship decider.
Non-drop, but we'll see how many drop by the end of the race.
Yes, definitely. Timmy Nichols looks like he's very excited about Long Beach being back in there, but it's safe to know that Mark Duggan sold his rig, so you're all right, Tim. Don't stress.
Good to have one street circuit each season, I think.
It is. Well, yeah, we're working on stuff like that. So Judicial Systems, we have a race director, which of course is Van Loon and myself, the management team, basically wear that role, but not so much on a night-to-night race night premises, where the duties fall back to the chief race steward, who then has underneath him race stewards, which will go down through the various splits. And then we have driving standard officers that will be overseeing the chief race stewards upon their requests to get involved. And of course, Mark Duggan and Jake Burton in that role. Incidents and infringements. So here's some changes that we've made here just to try and make it more user-friendly in vets. So the race director or drivers may report any incident or suspected breach of the rules to the race control steward. The race control steward or race director may also investigate an incident or suspected breach of rules themselves. Drivers can only report incidents relating to their car that they represent. So no other team member can raise an incident during or post-race on behalf of another driver. The driver may only represent themselves in any post-race appeal or incident of an incident. Drivers may first report an incident to the iRacing server by gaining the attention first up of race control. So it is race control car 515, where race control will then acknowledge, and then you reply back car 515, lap 1, turn 6. That's all we've got to do. You don't need to give the guys an absolute full essay on what's going on. Just keep it simple. They've got U-Butte software in the background with iRace control and various things that can help them find where that incident is very quickly. You can't remember the turns, even just car and your lap. That will make life a lot easier for those guys. Other methods of reporting incidents, such as direct messaging to members of race control group, is unacceptable and will not be reviewed. So in other words, don't direct message the race control what you want to report. Just get it in game as it happens. That is the easiest way to do it. The race control stewards or race director will be available for 30 minutes post-race of any infringements for report clarification. So if you have got a penalty, please feel free to drop up there and ask them why, or get some clarification on it to help you understand why they've ruled that way. Always remember that when you're in the car, in the heat of the battle, it always looks different to what those guys can see. Those guys have got the ability to stop, pause, rewind, look at the car from a 360-degree angle and get a clear picture. They can also analyse a corner on how people driven around that corner laps before and laps after. They can analyse to the nth degree, which, you can't do sitting in a cockpit looking out the front screen. So that's something you always remember, and always pays to have a look before you go up and have a chat to them. Unless it's completely clear the driver or competitor was in breach of the rules, any incident involving more than one car will result in the investigation being conducted by the race steward after the session. So if you have a larger accident, you could find there's a bit more going on. So their incident limits with keeping them at 17 for the first, and then every 15 after that. I know some other leagues run higher incident levels, but I'm leaving it at 17. I think we've created some good, safe racing in that space, so it works out quite well. So basically, to put it in a nutshell, if you exceed, you'll get a drive-through penalty at 17. If you go past 15 after that, you'll get a drive-through at 32, then 57, etc. Race control stewards will not reset, undo, or clear any black flags or penalties issued by iRace Control unless they are confident that an error has occurred. That was something that came up last season, a little bit of confusion with one of our race control stewards operating in two different series as a steward. But in our series, it is basically it needs to be confident that the error has occurred. So in other words, if someone's absolutely rear-ended the car and pushed it through the pit cones, there's a fair chance that you may have the evidence to occur it. But if you've just got a black flag because you crossed the white line exiting the pits and you think you didn't, don't call it in because you won't get away with it. So it's only really the real obvious ones. If anyone in Split 2 noticed it, Sandown, car 26 was tapped by somebody else and ended up going through the cones and back out onto the circuit. And that's an incident that sums up what we're talking about there. Investigations, of course, we've got the rights to do further investigations. So the guys will do those. And we can basically go through sort of talking more in line with Motorsport Australia, and we start sort of talking about penalties and investigations in post-season and post-session events. We'll get into that a little bit more as we go down. Competitors' obligations. So if you are asked questions by race control, no, it's your responsibility to cooperate. They ask you questions, be truthful and fully and truthfully answer the questions. At the request of race control, produce any documents, or they may ask you for video, they may ask you for telemetry. They could ask for anything to try and work out what's going on. And don't make any false, misleading statements because you can get yourself into trouble. Protests, we don't have an official protest system. Our race control stewards or race director's decision on the night is final. The race control or race director should be available for 30 minutes post-race for infringement clarifications or reporting of incidents. After the 30-minute period, further incidents cannot be reported, and the race control steward or race director do not have to provide clarification. So drivers should be allowed about 2 to 5 minutes to discuss, and if a driver is penalised from a post-race decision, we give you the right to raise a ticket. So if somebody has gone in that 30-minute period and said that, we need to have a look at John Van Ree because he gave me a tap here, and then John Van Ree gets a pit lane penalty, John Van Ree is then entitled to go and put a ticket in to say, hey, can you please explain why I've got this penalty? Pretty straightforward and works really well. And we'll work.
And I was going to say, John, that's a good system just to help people understand the rules, not to change it.
That's all right. Yeah, it's not change rules. It's just for clarification. So moving to our sporting regulations. So iRacing's automated judicial system comes into play. So it will give us various infringements. So we don't really have too much to worry about that. You get an iRacing infringement, you've got to deal with it, and they're in accordance. Or when are we going to require Motorsport Australia membership? No, we're not, Scott. Not going down that route. Won't need to do that. Doesn't simple. Just trying to catch up with any questions so far. Look, a hot dog down a hallway. Yeah, don't want to know what that's all about. Anyway, we'll keep moving on. I always get the fun jobs of this one. Van Loon can do the next one. Briefings, of course. The race control will provide a briefing prior to the start of each round. The briefing will be posted in the league Discord for them to be able, which is in the race control channel, for them to be able to announce. The race control steward may also provide a briefing to drivers using in-game voice, which is the one that we work with. Pit lane order is done in accordance with iRacing, so that's pretty easy to work with. License point system, we've made no changes in there. That is pretty well working quite well at the moment. We did some modifications last season. We toned back the second and third offensive points, and they work really good. It still works under the guise of careless, reckless, and dangerous, and it still accumulates over 10 rounds. So whatever you've done 10 rounds ago will still be scored against your license points. We're still working with 20 points to a pit lane start, 30 points to a DSQ one race ban. If you go past 45 points, DSQ from the race you're in, then a 2-race ban, and then we move higher up. But usually if you're getting up into that 60, 75, there's probably a fair chance league management's had a chat to you. Of course, pit lane starts and race bans from previous seasons carry over. So if you've got some infringements in round 10, it may occur that you have a pit lane start for round 1. Of course, we carry them over and they're kept for 10 rounds, as I've mentioned. Practice, there's no limitation on the number of practices people can get into. We do a 1-hour practice session on the night before the race, and we still have our official practice schedule, and that starts on Friday night this week, where we go at 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And then from Saturday, Sunday, we go 10 to 2, 2 to 6, 6 to 10, 10 to 2 a.m. And then on Thursday, we do the hour practice. Just want to stop in there and mention a huge thank you to Glenn Corbett. Glenn's been doing a lot of the server setting last season, still continuing on with it this season. Greatly appreciate the work Glenn does there. As you can imagine, we are setting... I think we're setting nearly 16 servers a week across the whole lot of it, and that is a fair effort for Glenn to get done. Grid determination will still be a lone qualification over 2 laps. Nothing has changed in there. We're still doing that exactly the same as what we've done, set on a moderate level of qualifying scrutiny, so don't dawdle around too slow. And just talking about qualifying, as well, and practice servers. I'm just going to mention this one. If you are in a practice server, don't spend your time spending all night going around doing slow laps to do a qualifying lap. If you want to practice qualifying, I probably recommend you do it lone, not in our practice servers. There are guys out on track that I've been hearing stories about that have had, good long lap sessions that have been faulted because of slow cars on track that don't get out of the way and slow cars on track that they've got to manage to get around. So,
the easiest way for people there is just to go load in and load a test session off the back of the server.
Yep, which I highly recommend that. The practice servers aren't there as we're after 8:30 yet. Yes, we are. They're not there as a pissing contest that who can go fastest. They're there for everyone to get practice. And, if you can get a group together and drive around together, that's probably the better way to get practice done because you get used to driving around others around the circuit. Anyway, that's a little pet hate that I'm sharing with everybody. Round participant procedures. Drivers who place in the top 3 of any race must make themselves available for the split broadcaster to provide commentary on the race. They should make themselves available until dismissed by the race director via Discord. So if you split 1, get yourself up into the split 1 green room if you're on the podium. Split 2, 3, and I've also missed one there. There we go. I've been caught out here. Split 1, course on the night. Split 2 and 3 and 4 are broadcasted by replays, with split 3 and 4 being informal driver discussions. So for those who don't know, Andrew Johnstone is taking over broadcasting split 3. I'll be bringing everybody the basement on Friday night from split 4. And then we move into, I think, a 6:30 broadcast on Saturday night for split 3, coming live from over the ditch from the back of the shearing shed in New Zealand. And then after that, on Saturday night, we'll have Hamish Munro do the split 2 broadcast. So we'll have 4 broadcasts a week now. So plenty going on to people to see and catch up on. Righto, just moving along.
Just going to say car number 6 will be very popular on the New Zealand broadcast.
I'm not going to ask why. I believe I should know by the sounds of it. Yep. I get it. Yep. Blanchy. Towing, still no tow rule is in effect without permission of race control. If you do fail and tow without permission, you will be classified as not finishing and also be rear of grid for the next race. So just be conscious of that, particularly the new guys out there. And I'm just trying to read Scott's question.
Just while you're doing that, John, my advice to any of the new guys is get your tow button or your escape button off your steering wheel onto the keyboard. That's the one that catches people out. You're in a hurry, you're panicking, and you'll press that by accident before you realise. So that's the best thing that I can suggest to people.
Yeah. I believe the 2, 3, and 4 usually, I'm not sure about 2, but last season we didn't broadcast quali laps only because of the fact that it's a lone driver. So I'm assuming, I've got to double check what SimSpeed's doing, but I don't think we really need to be doing them, Scott. It was an accident. Pato, you've been involved in another accident. That scares me. Hopefully Marty's okay. When a driver is requested for a tow, yep. So they need to be able to wait for race control to clear them for the tow. Or if they're going to continue driving, they need to notify that they're doing that. And if a driver opts to catch up to the rear of field instead of waiting for a clearance to tow, will receive a 1-lap black flag. So you've got to wait for that. When requesting a tow, a driver should expect to go down 1 to 3 laps, depending on how long it takes for the safety car and everyone else to get around and organised. and that's basically the intent, is to try and simulate real world and not allow you to get back into the pits quickly, back out, fast repair, and join back to the back of the pack without any real disadvantage. Request to tow not required if you've crossed the finish line after the race. So if you've taken the checkered flag, you don't need to request to tow if you've run out of fuel or whatever. And if a request for tow is required during the final stages of the last lap where the driver chat is disabled, please either wait for the chat to be re-enabled or attempt to make contact with race control via the text chat in-game. Drivers who need to request a tow during a period of disabled voice chat should make every effort to remove themselves off the racing line first. Racing rules, no changes in these from last season. So basically the general rules are overtaking according to the circumstances may be carried out on the left and right. Reasonable overlap is deemed as the headlights of the overtaking car reaching the front of the rear wheel arch being on the car overtaking. But this is, of course, determined on a case-by-case basis by race control, who will take into account all circumstances of the event as well, leading into the point where they determine the overlap, the reasonable overlap, hence it's in bold, not just talking about overlap in general. It is not permitted for any driver to unfairly gain an advantage because of contact with another car. At no time, whether on track, on the racetrack, the pit entry, the pit lane, or in the pit exit, may a car be driven unnecessarily slowly, erratically, or in a manner which could be deemed as potentially dangerous to other drivers or persons. Any painted line defining the track edge is considered to be part of the track, but a curb is not. So we're talking the white lines on the outer edges of the track. Defending, a driver can defend their position on a straight and before any braking area may use the full width of the track during their first move, provided no portion of the overtaking car is alongside their car. Whilst defending in this way, the driver may not leave the track without justifiable reasons. So more than one change of direction to defend a position is not permitted. Maneuvers liable to hinder other drivers, such as deliberately crowding of a car beyond the edge of the track, or any abnormal change in directions are not permitted. So what we're talking about there, and this creates a little bit of confusion, and that is if you see the snake going down the straight at places like Monza, provided you've got a couple of car lengths or a distance in front, you can move across and move back, provided you're not hindering the driver in front. And usually hindering the driver behind. That driver behind is going to be trying to follow you to stay in the slipstream. But where we start talking the car being crowded, so in other words, car B's got the run, he's coming, you can't then move back and block him into that position. You can only do that the one move. So in other words, car A can move himself to try and block car B, he's got the run on him, allowing car B then to move to the left-hand side, and then car B has the left-hand side of the circuit. So car A can't come back across to try and block him again. That's what we're talking about there in terms of defending. When any overlap exists on a straight with car A leading car B may move off the racing line, however, must provide car B no less than one car with racing room on the track edge. So what we're talking about there is you've still got to leave him a car width. So A has a right to move off the line. He can move, but he can't move to the point where B has to go off the circuit to pass. So if the car in front of B has limited overlap on car A, in the front of car B has limited overlap on car A is not permitted to force car B outside the track limits and must allow racing room. So then when we get to the cornering environment, so contact entering a corner, if reasonable overlap, so now we're talking about the headlights past the rear wheel arch. For those who don't understand that reg, it comes back to Spa last year between between Maloney and Jared Philsell, and that's where the rule got changed from the B pillar or the half point of the car to the back point of the car to try and create more onus on the outside car to allow a safe passage for the guy passing on the inside. But going back to 3.933, contact entering a corner. If reasonable overlap exists, deems the headlight overtaking car reaches the front rear arch of the car being overtaken. At the turn-in point, the car being overtaken, car A must allow room. So you can't squeeze car B off the track there either. Car A being the car being overtaken, car A must not crowd B beyond the track limits or trigger contact. So you can't move in and squash car B out of the way. You've got to give him racing room because he's got that overlap at the turn-in point. So this isn't the braking point, this was the turn-in point. But bearing in mind, car B needs to be in control. So I was talking about overtaking and maintaining control. Hence, no, as I said, you need to be in control. In general, the onus is on the overtaking car to pass safely, always maintaining control. So car B's coming in there hot, and he's made contact with car A that is giving him the car width. So car B has put himself in an error. So the overtaking cars should not expect the preceding car to simply give way. So don't expect car A's given you track width. So don't expect him to give you more than one car's width, because he doesn't have to. So that's what we're saying there. So this is what we call dive bombing, and dive bombing and related contact are not considered passing safely, and you cannot use another car as a brake. All drivers have a duty of care to always provide racing room. So that, A's got to provide that racing room. He's got a duty of care to do that. But B doesn't have the right to try and muscle his way or punch his way by banging panels or dive bombing to get him out of the way. Then we flip it. So now we're talking about contact exiting a corner. So overtaking cars should not expect the preceding car to simply give way on the way out. So this time now, car A is the overtaking car. They must not crowd car B within the track limits or trigger contact. So car B, he's given you track width for car A to be in there. Car A can't simply drive out to the exit of the corner expecting car B to yield. You need to give car B a track width off the exit. Sorry, a car width off the exit. And that is the catch to it. Now, you've got to provide racing room on when you're coming into a corner, and you've still got to provide racing room when you go out of the corner. So the onus at all times is on the overtaking car to be clear of the overtaken car. So if you've gotten past car B's now gotten past car A, so he can't just cut across. He's got to give room to get across. And then the other part, of course, is bumping. So we've talked about dive bombing, that any car that unfairly gains an advantage or position because contact with another car, otherwise known as the bump and run, will be penalised accordingly. Then lapped cars, we're starting to get into that now. So as soon as a car is caught by another car which is about to be lapped, the driver must allow the faster driver past at the first possible opportunity. The driver to be lapped will be shown the blue flag by iRacing when the fastest car is 1.5 seconds behind. When the interval between the two drivers is under 0.8 of a second, the driver being lapped is to provide the passing car an opportunity within the following lap at the first opportunity. So in other words, use your relatives, keep track of, you'll see the blue flag, use your relatives, track the cars behind and get yourself out of the way as soon as you can safely do so. So any driver who appears to ignore blue flags may be reported to race control by the driver who is coming to lap you. A penalty may be applied where the driver being lapped is deemed to have impeded the progress of the lapping car. So drivers who are being impeded must call out to race control and not to the other driver. So don't get there in the server and go, well, who can I pick on this time? You, Blanchy. Don't get in the server and go, Blanchy, you're in the way, mate. Blanchy, blue flags, blue flags. Don't just sit there and yell blue flags. Don't sit there and flash your lights. And no, all I would do is just go race control, car 515, lap 6, blue flags. That's all I would do. Now, the next part in our regs here, of course, is rejoining the track. So nearly the bottom of 3.9. The track for the purposes of judging compliance with the driving code of conduct shall be taken to mean the part of the track defined by the outer edge of the solid line along each side of the track, or where no line is marked, the limit of the bitumen racing surface of racing surface. Off the road, all 4 tyres equals outside track limits. If you're outside track limits, get off the throttle, reduce control speed. You have no racing rights, and you could be classified as an unsafe re-entry if you come back on the track and hinder car B. Now, there are some circuits, I'm not sure about this season too much, where you can drive off. iRacing lets you drive all the way off all 4 tyres. Even some of the chicanes at places like Monza, they allow you to drive all 4 tyres off the track. And we run back from that.
We're pretty good.
Yeah, this season I think we're pretty good. So basically, just be conscious that if you drive all 4 tyres off the track, you've got no rights to the cars around you, and you might find yourself in a bit of a pickle. So just
Not like Charlotte.
What's that, sorry?
I said it's not like Charlotte where you can go all 4 wheels off the track.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Watkins.
Yes, Watkins as well.
Yeah, Watkins is another classic one there where we have all that. And then we also, so just be conscious if you do drive off track with all 4 tyres, you can get yourself into a situation where you will be penalised. And finishing off the racing component, a driver must not consistently cut corners by driving over inside curbs of racetrack surfaces, cut any corner which results in material debris is picked up from other racing rules, perform any activity which results in material debris being brought onto the track. Penalties may be applied to individuals who breach specific rules or code of conduct. These penalties may be imposed by the race control steward before, during, or after the event. Riddle me this. If you become a blue flag and let a car go, then catch and pass that car again. Does that scrub the inevitable blue flag you were getting straight away? I think once you pass them, yeah, it does.
Only if you can pull away from them, I suppose.
Yeah. Driver expectations. So this is an important one of this part of the regs. Driver within reason is expected to hold their brakes in the event of an incident to help prevent the risk of contact with others. And a driver, where possible, should redress an incident where they believe they are at fault. This action will reduce the severity of the penalty from race control, but what it actually does, which is huge, and what I like about vets, it shows respect towards your fellow competitor that you've put your hand up and acknowledged that you've made a mistake. And we'll talk about that when we get to 6.12. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but we've got rules and regulations for dealing with suspension, resuming, and abandoning a session. So this sort of covers us off if we have a server dropout or something of that nature, and we can't get it restarted. So we outline what we're doing there. So if in the events we get 75% race distance, it'll be full points. If we have less than 75%, it'll be half points. If we have less than 50%, there'll be no points awarded, and we'll look at rescheduling the race. Excuse me. We usually have a makeup round left at the end of the season that we can use. So that'll be announced, of course, in the announcements of the season 21. Driver disconnects. If you disconnect from the server for whatever reason, you can attempt to rejoin and complete enough of the race to be classified as a finisher. If you cannot rejoin the server, then if you've done 75% of the race, you'll be classified as a finisher. That's the new bit there. Right. So now we get into some of the changes that we see between the last season and this one. The safety car will be a McLaren 720S GT3 Evo. And I can hear Bruce McLeod applauding straight away, and Scotty Van Loon. So in the safety car, it'll still be called the same way by text chat and voice chat. Safety car, safety car, safety car, or safety car boards and flags. When the safety car period is announced by the race control steward at the point of announcement, so this is where it changes. The safety car will not be deployed if the leader is between the safety car 1 and the safety car 2 line on track. So in other words, the safety car won't come out when the leader is within that boundary of the pit lane. If the leader takes the next or first opportunity to enter the pit lane, the safety car may be deployed at any time by the race director. So if the driver of the lead car has crossed safety car line 1 and then decides to pit, we then have the ability to send the safety car out. When safety car is called, all cars must attain a safe race pace. By that we mean don't hit anybody, don't fall off the track. That's basically all we mean there. So you can still drive at a race pace, but safe means don't hit anybody, basically. Safe race pace will be deemed to be full race pace with enough of a gap to the car in front to avoid any collision. No overlapping is to occur during that time. Safety car will ordinarily be reserved for use when a tow has been requested. Leave that one in there. The race control steward have complete discretion over the use of the safety car, including when and how it's deployed. They may take in consideration factors such as, but not limited to, laps remaining in the race, time left in the session, whether or not deployed a safety car will result in the race finishing under yellow flags. So they have all those things at their disposal. The safety car will pick up the leader of the race or into the leader's track position gap should the leader enter the pit lane. Once all cars are in the safety car train, the safety car will leave the field on that lap. When the safety car comes on track, it will announce safety car on track when they pass the safety car 2 line. And when the safety car crosses the safety car 2 line on track, are not permitted to pass. Cars on track are not permitted to pass unless instructed to do so via chat or voice instructions. So in other words, where we have our blue cone blend line, that is where we're blending the safety car as well. So if the safety car does come out and it is deemed, or you think it's in front of you at the blend line, I'd probably recommend dropping back behind it. Pit lane entry will remain open unless the safety car remain open under the safety car unless instructed otherwise by the race director. When past the safety car 1 line, cars are permitted to break out of the train whilst entering pit lane. Now, this is important to understand this one. Overtaking of cars in the train is permitted whilst the car has all 4 wheels in the pit lane entry, which is either defined by a solid or dotted line. So once you decide you're going to pit in the safety car train, you get past the safety car 1 line. As soon as you've got your car in the pit lane, you're free to accelerate and try and pass, or free to accelerate and pass cars that are in the safety car train. Now, most pit lanes are short, but longer pit lanes, you might get a few positions before you actually get to the pit lane and slow down. So that's the main change there. For those following along, pits remain open during safety car deployment, but we close pit exit at the green cones. And of course, that'll reopen after the train goes past. So if the safety car or race controller unable or fails to notify that the pit exit is closed or open, drivers are still expected to rejoin at the end of the tail of the safety car train and after the last car of the safety car train has passed the blue exit cone. So you need to be conscious of that one. No passing of courses to occur. We still have, unless someone's left track limits or are going at a greatly reduced speed because of damage, drivers are not to pass safety car unless instructed to do so. Waiver rounds will be allowed for those cars that are not on the lead lap, regardless of how many laps are behind. with the expectation of the car that requested the tow. So if you requested the tow, you're not. If you requested the tow, yeah, you're not going to get a lap back. That's what we're saying there. So waiver rounds will be issued by race control on or after lap 2 of the safety car period. Cars not attached to the safety car procession train for this lap will forfeit their right to the waiver round. What I'd probably say with the safety car is listen to what race control say. They, I think, will hopefully this season be doing cars to the left, cars to the right. So listen to what they're saying, follow their instructions. That's very important. So make sure you've got your comms and stuff working well. There's no set number of safety car laps as well, but we try to keep it to a minimum. When we advise that the field will be resuming at the end of the current lap, the safety car will accelerate away from the field. All cars will maintain single procession, nose to tail. No weaving is permitted or overlapping at that stage. The leader must maintain control of the field and maintain the constant speed, which is usually 80 kilometres per hour, as advised by race control. There should be no more than 4 car lengths between cars whilst in the train prior to the race start. So as we're getting into that race start component, you need to bunch up. And of course, drivers are expected to position themselves no greater distance of 5 car lengths from the car in front when they're getting themselves sorted. So when the time the driver announces, from the time race control announces that we're going to be going green at the end of the lap, you're expected to be no greater than 5. And then when the safety car's left the train, you've got to be 4 car lengths minimum. Sorry, it can't be more than 4 car lengths. When you hear safety car in pit lane, the leader now has control of the field and can restart the race at their leisure. So that could happen very quickly or very late. That is their prerogative. And drivers cannot overlap with another car prior to the apex of the final corner to the restart after the safety car has entered the lane. Once the leader accelerates above constant speed, the race is green. So race control don't need to announce that the race is green. Drivers may not overtake a driver until they've crossed the line. That's pretty straightforward. Should someone spin or go off during the safety car session, they'll only be permitted to rejoin in the order of which they rejoin the track. And of course, the rules for rejoining apply even during the safety car period. Now, the safety car 2 line shall be determined as a single file order. Determine the single file order of the cars on track and those re-entering after a pit stop during the safety car period. So if you are off the back of the train coming back in, you've got to use that blend line to determine your car position. In a case where there's a dead heat for the safety car will take the lead position. And if there's a dead heat, the car on track will take the lead position. When cars leave pit bay, the car in the pit wall lane, the fast lane, is the car who has right of way over any other car leaving their stalls and seeking to rejoin and merge. Pit stops, they haven't changed. All we've done there is introduce the safety car 1 and 2 lines. Pit stop can be taken any time. A pit stop, so I'm not talking compulsory pit stops. A pit stop can be taken at any time during a session. Any other adjustments are made available in iRacing will allow it to be done at a pit stop. Anytime pit stop is taken place, drivers are permitted to change gear in pit lane and use the pit speed limiter to transition. Not allowed, are permitted to change gears, but you can use the pit lane speed limiter, has to be on, and you can't can't repetitively change up and down gears to get an advantage. Pit lane transitions may be checked by race control stewards. It's important. Improper transitions could result in a 10-point penalty post-race. Pit lane transitions is from the safety car 1 line to the safety car 2 line. So the pit entry forms part of the racetrack and drivers are expected to remain on track. So in other words, places like Winton, where you've got a right-left, you can't cut the left out of it and just drive straight through. So you've got to use the circuit properly there. I think iRacing gives you an off-track there now as well, but that's basically trying to tidy that part of it up. Pit lane exit is defined as the order of cars crossing the green line cone. So you can't fight and squabble going out on the pit exit. So if you're not the first car past the green cone, you need to yield to the car in front. Compulsory pit stops. So to complete a compulsory pit stop, the car must be up on under its own power and be raised up on the jacks. Each car must perform 2 compulsory pit stops still. We're going to run with that. That's worked quite well. You can only perform a compulsory pit stop after it commences lap 2 on the racetrack. So in other words, at the end of lap 1, you can't come in and do a compulsory. The penalty for failure to not complete your compulsory pit stops will be a DNF. Should the safety car be deployed prior to the leader commencing lap 2 on the race circuit, the safety car period and the safety car period continues after the commencement of lap 2, the compulsory stop window will not be open until 1 lap after the race goes green. So what we mean there is on the resumption of a green flag racing, the compulsory pit stop may not be taken until the driver has crossed the start-finish line under green flag conditions. So that's pretty well much the component with that one that you need to remember. You cannot complete 2 compulsory safety cars under the same safety car period. And if a pit stop, yep. And if a car enters pit lane and exits the racing surface before the safety car period, this is deemed as a green flag stop. So in other words, if you're in past the safety car 1 line coming into the pits,
That just cut you out again, John. It has. Hopefully my microphone picks you back up. Still quiet again, John. Hopefully he'll pick up in a second, people, that it's gone quiet. I won't pick up off what he's doing.
and I'm back. Okay. Yeah, this is a problem. I'm not getting any sound coming in, so I was thinking nothing's happening, so it's turning itself off.
So what you're telling me, I've got to talk more.
Yeah. So yeah, you got to do 70. You got to basically finish. So you got to do 75% of the race to be classified as a finisher, and that I think everyone would have read what I've done there. Yeah, you need to be 75% to be classified as a finisher. It doesn't have to cross and take the checkered flag, the car running and stuff. It's just basically what spits out of iRacing. If you've done 75% of the laps, you classify as finisher. If you haven't, you're a DNF. Telemetry, that hasn't changed. I recommend people go through and learn and understand that one. No, we have asked for telemetry before, and we usually have started a habit of doing it once a season. So just keep an eye out on that one. So understand how that all works. Effects
of find out why I'm so slow? Go for
it. Yeah. Protests we don't really run. That's more of we're basically having something else going on outside of the racing rules. Issuing of classifications. We have 3 classifications that we issue. First one is the preliminary classifications, and that's basically the iRacing results at the end of the night. We then have provisional classifications, and that's the conclusion of the race steward investigations and determinations. So then post points penalties are applied. And then we have the final classification, which is the results that are published in Sim Racer Hub, which are usually 3 or 4 days afterwards. Point system, nothing's changed there. we're still basically running the same system. They are identical to what we did the last 2 seasons. So it gives us the ability to look at a leaderboard. Drivers' points are accumulated over the season. Will be deducted from the drivers' championships. Drivers' license points accumulated, will be taken from the championship points. Drivers not classified in any races will not earn any points. In the event of 2 or more drivers being tied for points, it'll be those who've got the highest positions. Drivers with greatest number of first places finishes will take that, and then it'll work its way down the order to tie break. So the points are exactly the same. We're still running the same bonus points. So bonus points are for pole, 0 incident points, you get 2. Laps led, you get 1. Most laps led, you get 1. Fastest lap for the top 10, you get 1. We are still running.
The camera points?
I thought I was still in there. I'll have to see if I've got them somewhere. I'll keep going through. It's a good one, Blanchy. I thought they were in these already. I'll see if I can find them. Otherwise, I'll issue that out. 2 drop rounds, and you can't drop round 10. So nothing's changed in that position there. That's pretty much how that still works. No change in that. Pre-season, we've been through that. Don't need to worry about it. Drivers helping the league. We've still got quite a few drivers that are involved in the league, which is great. I think Bruce and Greg are all looking to come back at some stage and race. Should be good. They've done a great job in session replays. Always not a good idea to keep your replays just in case you do get asked for it. Probably not so much without a protest system. In race communication, so communications between a driver and RC must be kept professional. The use of the invoice chat facility or functions is to be used exclusively for the purpose of drivers reporting incidents to race control. Any non-driver is not permitted to use iRacing voice chat or text. The use of the iRacing voice chat or text function must only be used during the race for the purpose of communicating with other drivers' teams. Found to be drivers and teams found to be doing so will be penalised. The iRacing voice chat function must not be used during qualifying. You're out on track by yourself. It can get a bit confusing when someone starts talking to you. Excessive use of swearing will not be tolerated, and a call has been made to RC for adjudication. Drivers shall cease communication about this, other than the RC other than RC asking for clarification. So in other words, if Blanchy gives me a penalty, I shouldn't be coming on the voice comm saying that's bullshit, because it is.
But it's also very distracting to everyone
else. Yeah, because Dave Baldock finds that word offensive.
He's the worst offender.
I know. Collusion, so you can't collusion or collaboration outside of iRacing sporting codes will not be tolerated. Race manipulation, discussions or acts with intent to arrange or manipulate any outcome of a session in the league are prohibited and punishable in lines of recommended penalties, including round disqualifications of cars and all team participants in that split of a series. So if somebody deliberately causes a safety car or gets questioned that they've deliberately caused a safety car and it's found out that they are, it won't just be the driver that brought the safety car up that'll be penalised. It will be all the other team members in that split at the time will probably be DSQ'd, will be DSQ'd. So just be conscious of that. That is something that we all need to be aware of, something that's come down from above. Hacking, that's pretty self-explanatory. Platform exploitation, that's another one that's pretty self-explanatory. Impersonation, So if you are going to be doing laps in our servers, make sure you're doing it under your own iRacing account. Software manipulation, we're looking at covering off things such as your macros in there. And yeah, so that covers off all those things. The Vets Discord, drivers are required to be in Vets Discord channels on race night, especially the split one guys. That gives, there we go, there's your bonus point. Actually, I knew it was still there. That gives the Sim Speed boys full access to use guys. We talked about how you're representing the league as well as your own team. The amount of information that Scotty Rankin gets when he drops down and talks to everybody is second to none. And that information gets brought across into the broadcast, which makes it really good. Makes it really good in the broadcast, makes them very informative, and makes the league look really professional. So I appreciate everyone doing that. And also makes it easy for race control off people who've got problems and stuff to be able to find where they are and physically talk to them instead of trying to communicate via chat. Split one broadcast Zoom feature. Of course, SimSpeed have their Zoom channel. Any split one driver will earn 1 bonus point in their championship for being in better to have bonuses on use of Discord versus Zoom. Discord's just chat and Zoom is so they get the visuals. That's the difference there, Tim. So I expect everybody to be in chat, not just split one guys, just to make it quite easy. I take an awful long time to go through and make. I think we've got 50 odd Teams channels dropped down the list on the page there. So you need to be able to use those. Technicals, iRacing session configurations, there's no change in that. We are still running the Gen 2 car. So we are still adopting the 18 degree circuit, minimum wind, minimum humidity. So it's all still fairly easy for everyone to drive. Still cleaning marbles, still doing everything with 100% track state. Yeah.
And no rain.
Yeah. For all other weather, we'll be set cool ambient temperatures, as we've just said. For league practice sessions, it'll all start at 100. I've got a page out of line there. I should sort that out. Operations, competitor numbers, we have allocated everybody's numbers. If you haven't accepted the league invite in Discord, I ask you to do it and do it ASAP. I have the fun job of going through and typing everybody's names and numbers in there. And the more we can get that done and completed, the easier it is as we get closer to race night when it becomes a panic. And the allocation of competitor numbers, everyone when they've entered has given me suggestions. As you can appreciate, we have a lot of people in the league. A lot of numbers are taken, and we try and keep people who raced in the last season, and we try and hang on to their number in case they're only having a season off, and they all work their way back down to they don't exist anymore and get taken. Compulsory markings on cars. Of course, we have our windscreen banners that we expect everybody to run, and the first infringement for that will be a warning from the race directors, and then after that will be 10 license points, and then any further infringements will result in DSQ. So you need to just need to make sure you got your banners on. RaceKraft Simulations, great sponsor. They contribute a fair bit to the league, and that is the minimum of things we can do. And, if you are watching a broadcast, every car has the same banner. It makes the league look super professional.
And just something there, John, for the guys, split two down, where possible, they need to not change their
yes.
skin, until the replay is done, if possible.
Yeah, definitely. And we've already run a race in this season, so in trading paints, the league should be there under season 21. Moving now into recommended penalties. So, of course, we adhere to the iRacing Code of Conduct. So you've got all the penalties associated with iRacing itself. Driving standards are based on considering the breaches, whether it's a careless driving, reckless driving, or dangerous driving. So careless driving is departing from the standards of a competent driver. Reckless driving is any unintentional action by a driver which creates a serious risk to others. And dangerous driving is intentional actions by a driver which creates serious risks to others. So they're the guys that we work under. Conduct guidelines. You need to understand that race control have to make tough decisions, and these decisions rest with the stewards that we've got, and drivers must respect the decision of the stewards. I know people can get hot under the collar, but at the end of the day, these guys are coming in, and we've got 12 blokes, 12, actually rephrase that, we've got 14 guys coming in on a Thursday night to help us have a racing event that is fully immersive with live race control. And we need to respect these guys, because without these guys, we won't be running 4 splits and we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. The basics.
I actually think it's a great effort that we actually got enough for 4 splits.
I think it's bloody good. And I've got someone else just put their hand up for the safety car. So the onus is on all drivers and competitors to always respect the rules. Rules are applied firmly and fairly. Zero tolerance policy with regards to threats, abuse of officials, other drivers, team members and staff, either verbally or in text or writing. So this is included but not limited to the iRacing platform, Discord, and Discord servers that the league operates in. So just be careful what you type when you are hot under the collar. We do have moderators in Discord, so things do get deleted from time to time. But the old saying is, if you're hot under the collar, just take a step back, post it in the morning. Penalties may be applied to individuals who breach specific rules or codes of conduct within the league event. These penalties are imposed by the race director or race control stewards during or after the event, depending on the nature of it. Racing incident points. So during the series, incident points will begin being accrued from the race start right through until the last driver on track has taken the checkered flag. Despite having finished the race, drivers may still accrue incident points via their post-race actions. So you got 17 points, and then you'll get a drive-through. I've seen it too many times, and it's probably one of the first things you learn when you're a rookie in iRacing, and that is, as soon as the race stops, you don't want to accumulate more points, incident points. I've seen last season, I think, 2 drivers that I'm aware of getting incident points post-race and finding themselves demoted by about 7 positions by iRacing. And there's nothing we can do about that. You need to be aware of it. And I'd probably recommend post-race not doing burnouts until you know the last driver has crossed the line and taken the flag. That's my advice there. So, of course, drivers found deliberately trying to cause post-race incident points on other vehicles will be penalised accordingly as well. So just be conscious of car contact, etc. Cars must cross the finish line or enter the pit lane under their own power. Cars are not provided external assistance to other cars by pushing them across the line. So if your mate runs out of fuel, don't. Driver lost a championship. Yeah, that's right. That is true, Scott. Do you remember that one now? Yep.
Season ago.
Last season, a couple of seasons ago. Yeah, heartbreaking. So of course, what we're referring to, that what I'm talking about just there was, if your mate's ran out of fuel, you can't push him across the line to get him finished. Practice and qualifying penalties don't really apply in our league, but we're just sort of saying that we do have the ability, if someone's done something that's not in a respectful manner and has been reported to the stakeholders of the league, that we've got the ability to go and investigate and look at it a bit more. So it probably is a bit to do with the fact, bullying or something like that in our practice servers. Qualifying servers was our pre-qual servers is really the only reference to that section there. No escape rule, we talked about that before. Drivers must request permission to use the escape from race control. In other words, towing. Failure to do so will be a DNF and mirror grid start next race. Black flags are automatically issued by iRacing. Drivers are expected to observe the in-game instructions and penalties associated with black flags. We're not going to clear black flags unless there's clear evidence to dispute their validity, aka Sandown Car 26. The no escape rule applies in pit lane during process sessions as well. Drivers are required to drive to the pit box before using any escape function. So if you are going to get out of the car during your pit stop, I highly recommend getting into that pit box and then doing it. If you get the car in pit lane and then escape, you will be penalised. And the league's not accountable for iRacing black flags that may disadvantage any driver. Understanding the conditions around the automatic black flags and how they are issued by iRacing is the responsibility of the driver. The league chief race steward may also manually issue black flags for infringements for drive-throughs, and they'll be doing that using the in-game command. Black flags issued by race control cannot be served under a safety car, as generally these are for driving infringements. If a safety car period arises, race control will clear the flag and reissue it after the penalty. So if you do have a black flag issued by race control and a safety car is called, I would highly recommend getting on to race control and asking them to clear it. Just to make sure it's cleared. You don't want to be sitting behind the safety car for 3 laps or 4 laps, for 3 laps and get to the 4th lap and be DSQ'd. So there's a little bit of an onus there on you, the driver, to make sure you're not DSQ'd in that circumstance. Blue flags, refer back to section 3.9. Car contact, the driver in any session who is deemed by the stewards to have made avoidable contact, avoidable or at fault car contact with another car will be subject to a penalty. Penalties may be applied before, during or post-race. Car contact can be classified as with a driver's standards and licence points may be applied. Going back to that reckless, dangerous up the top before. Contact between cars in pit lane may be reviewed by the league officials and a penalty may be applied there as well. So if there is an accident in pit lane, it still exists. Net code may occur and then any race control should take in consideration whether contact would have occurred regardless of the net code. So that's something that we need to be conscious of, and race control are very conscious of as well. Track re-entry, where a car attempts to re-enter the track during any race session, the driver must do so in a safe manner without impeding or making contact with others. Do so about the conditions of the vehicle with full regards to their fellow drivers and do so as possible and as close as possible to the exit point from the track, i.e. driver must not cut corners or sections of track exclusively whilst outside the limits of the race surface. Failure to observe these conditions may result in penalties being issued based on the driving standards and licence point system above, and it's also referred to in section 3.9. Redressing, this is one that we talk about quite regularly, where contact between 2 cars occurs, the result in a place gained by the driving, they may attract a penalty. The offending driver may redress the position without steward involvement. A redress will only be accepted by the race control when the contact's a one-on-one scenario. A redress instructed by race control, it must occur within 1 lap of the call or further penalties will apply. So if race control asks you to redress, I'd get it done quickly. Is the advice there? My microphone's still working, yes.
Yep, you're still going well.
Pit lane penalties, drive-throughs and stop and goes. So that's how we issue those. I'm not going to go into too great detail there, but basically we can issue pit lane penalties. You'll get given a black flag. They can also issue a drive-through with a stop penalty. So they've got the ability to do that, the stop and go, so they can hold you for 10 seconds. A driver must serve a pit lane penalty on their last lap. Can't serve it on their last lap. Attempting to do so will result in the driver being issued a 25-point post-race penalty. Notification of pit lane penalties will be issued by game radio and text chat. Drive-through penalty applied post-race will be issued as a 10-point penalty or more, depending on whether it's deemed as a stop and hold. Deliberate contact and retaliation, any car contact or indiscretion that is deemed to be dangerous, that causes a loss of time or damage to another competitor, result in immediate removal from the server by the chief race steward. A loss of license points will apply. Deliberate or payback driving will not be tolerated at any time and will be dealt with harshly. So see if I can go back up quickly. So if we go back up to here, you can see dangerous is an intentional act. And you went back up to the rules, the license points, you'll see you'll get whacked on the nose pretty hard with that. As we head back down, argumentative behaviour towards race control, back chat's not going to be tolerated. I'd be very careful with that. If you want to have things looked at or discussed, do it after the race. Don't do it in race. Basically the behaviour of arguing with race control will be deemed as reckless or dangerous. So you will have the chance of losing license points, particularly if it is deemed to be aggressive. Drivers wishing to review protest, sole discretion of the race control, drivers that breach the rule can be penalised, can be ranging from 10 points to a stop and hold up to 40 seconds or even disqualification depending on the severity of the breach. Race control may penalise further breaches of the rule during the race session by muting the driver from voice chat as well. If this takes place, further post-race penalties could be applied. Rage quitting, not acceptable. No, rage quitting comes with an extra 10 points. If you decide to manually disconnect from the server without informing race control, it can be deemed as rage quitting. So if you are going to leave a server, drive the car back to the pits, park it up, and then what I'd probably recommend is just a quick announcement to race control that you're leaving and leave it at that. Unsportsmanlike behaviour. Race control can warn a driver of unsportsmanlike behaviour. So this is a black and white flag, basically. If a driver conduct doesn't change, then race control may penalise the driver accordingly. So that could be anything from time penalty or points penalty through to drive-through, stop and holds, DSQs. Unsportsman flag cannot be protested or appealed and is at the discretion of race control to issue that flag if people are not driving within the spirits of our regulations. And that, my friend, is the end of the regs. So
Yeah, to start it there, we've been finished ages ago.
I hope everyone's got something out of that. I've tried. I think I only went quiet twice. Definitely still a fairly lengthy document, but I think we cover off everything. The new guys, I highly recommend going back, reading carefully Rules 3.9. It's a fairly in-depth section. It covers off a lot of what we do in terms of our racing rules. And then the rest of it's sort of built around how we adjudicate our penalties and how we go about it. I'm going to wind this one up pretty quick here because I've been talking for a long time. Season 21, round the corner. We kick off next Thursday. Don't forget to remember that tomorrow night our race control team they have a lovely meeting with Pete Baxter. He's going to go through some things with them and highlight a few more things out of the regs for those guys. We also have on Thursday night our one and only splits reveal. So Hamish Munro getting together a team there with Andrew Johnson. I think Scotty Gamble might be involved in that, or Scott Rankin. I'm not sure which Scott he's been talking to. And myself will be in to review each split and announce the names in each split. So that'll definitely be that one. Still the question about where to get that shirt needs to be answered. Okay, I didn't see that question, Maddie. I'll get on to that one. We'll need to do a run of those. I know Luke still has. That's really good, isn't it? Luke still has a few of these floating around. But yeah, we'll probably have to try and organise another run of shirts at some stage. And we've also got the hat as well. Yeah, so Thursday night, make sure you jump onto the Hamish show and go with that. We definitely looking forward to seeing everybody thoughts and everything else. I did the pub test with Mr. Van Loon on the splits the other night, and I can tell you there is going to be an absolutely epic racing across all 4 splits. I am really looking forward to this season because I think it's going to be an absolute cracker. Split 2, I think you could probably throw a second over it. Split 3, I reckon you could throw a second over it as well. And split 1, those guys are just getting faster and faster. And we'll definitely see where we go with that from there. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to wrap this up. And we'll do this all again as we move forward into the next set at GP. I love you, Pato. On that note, we will wrap this up and we will hopefully see everybody on track or around. So thanks, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Blanchy T, for sitting in and trying to stop my microphone going on mute.
No worries. I failed twice, but
no
I'll do
worries.
better next time.
And I'm going to call it a night there and see everybody again soon. Thanks for watching.
Got it.